Welcome back to The Careful Diver. My name is Juji Carminati, and today's topic is sexual harassment in the diving industry. Yep, we're going to start the year off nice and easy, just really ease into that topic. And the reason I'm talking about this topic is first, it's been a topic I've wanted to talk about for quite a while. And second, there was a post recently by a person who gave me permission to discuss the situation. I will not give location, I will not give names, I'll not give any of that. So it'll just be a hypothetical scenario that maybe happened, but definitely did. So basically, and it really triggered me to say, you know what, we need to go and do this. We need to talk about this. So let's talk about it this way. Many times I am on various Facebook groups and online forums, et cetera, et cetera. There are women who report, look, I was sexually harassed. Even some were assaulted, as in non-consensual touching. So like somebody grabbed their buttocks or their breasts or started rubbing their arms, or all of these things that are basically forced intimacy. And what's very interesting is that their number one concern, and I understand why it's a concern, and I was raised a girl, I understand why this is a concern. Definitely have felt it on my own skin, on my own body over the years. There's the concern of, I don't want to be that type of girl, right? Because there is a, lucky for sexual harassers and lucky for the patriarchy, there is this stigma about being the woman who speaks out about sexual harassment. While we all pay lip service to victims of sexual harassment, whenever it happens, there's always a million reasons why. Well, I believe in it and I would definitely help a victim, but I don't think it happened this time. And saying that over and over and over and over and over again, somehow, we all know sexual harassment happens. We've just never seen it happen. So there's always this concern of, I don't want to be that type of girl. So I'm going to say this to you: be that type of girl. Just be that type of girl. Because the more of us that speak out, the more of us who say, look, this happened. And this one of the challenges, obviously, that you have to be pretty factual and you have to be pretty matter of fact. Because unfortunately, again, emotion gets held against us, even though these are very highly emotional situations, the better it is. So be that type of girl. Speak up. The second thing I want to talk about is that obviously, depending on whether you are a customer or a professional diver, the stakes are going to be very different. As a customer, you actually have a little bit more power, because in the end, if that relationship doesn't work out, you can go find another provider. And in the end, they're the ones who are going to lose business. But if you are in a professional setting and this is a colleague or someone that works with you, I'm really sorry, because I completely understand that speaking up is actually not that easy and can have very serious repercussions. So what I would say is, do the best you can to protect yourself in the situation that you're in. Do the best you can to extract yourself from the situation as soon as you can, and then report it at a later time. And why am I so adamant about the reporting portion? Because here's the thing: sexual harassers, it's not a one-time thing. While inappropriate, inappropriate requests, which are not sexual harassment. So there can be like inappropriate, like really off color, inappropriate kind of, that's kind of grossing me out. That's one situation. And then there's actual sexual harassment, and then there's sexual assault. And all of these violations of varying amounts exist on a gradient. Having said that, when somebody engages in sort of boundary violation, let's call it that, right? In boundary violation behavior, it's not a one-time thing, right? These are serial violators. It's never just the one-time thing. And importantly, you should realize that if there's been a boundary violation that happens, it's not innocent, and it's a test. Very, very often, individuals who breach boundaries do so in ways that are gentler at first, to see whether they can get away with it and to see how their victim reacts. And the problem is that women are very much taught to be nice, to not be rude, to not make waves, to not be that girl, and to not overreact. And we've also been told that we are overly emotional. And so when we do react to a boundary violation that is minor, we are told that we're overreacting. But if you don't react to the boundary violation and then something happens down the line, then we get blamed for not setting boundaries. It's a great catch-22 game. I love playing it. It's awesome. Tails you win, heads I lose. That's great. Okay. So the reason I always talk about speaking out is because if it's happened once, it's happened twice, it's happened 3 times, it happens 4 times. This is not their first time. And whoever you're reporting it to, if it's the first time they hear it, good. Maybe the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. And here, I have no illusions. Very rarely, I don't expect anybody to do anything about boundary violations the first, second, or third time that they hear it. But once we get to five, once we get to 10 boundary violations, once we get to 10, 15 reports, then it's a lot harder to say, well, I think it's just that one lady is a little bit sensitive. So be the one report. Maybe you are the report that tips the scale. Maybe you are the report that puts the nail in the coffin. And maybe you're the first report that's going to get brushed under the rug. But that's a price I'm willing to pay. Now, the incident I was referring to is that there was a woman who went diving with a buddy, and they were like, "Oh, let's go diving together." Great. And I think he was a kind of in an instructor situation, definitely a guide situation role. So they went underwater, and while they were underwater inside a cave, which is obviously a very restricted environment, he started touching her. He started rubbing her arms. He started getting really close to her, and she froze. And why would she freeze? Well, because if this individual tears your regulator out of your mouth, you drown. So she froze. And then she was absolutely shaken and she got out of the water. And then he wrote her a text saying, "It was so great diving with you. I really feel like we had a connection," which is actually a really standard operating procedure for violators to create a record of, "I thought it was well intentioned and she didn't say it wasn't." And so if that happens, immediately set the record straight in writing. What you did was a violation. What you did was assault. Do not contact me or touch me ever again. Write that. Be that person. Don't be afraid to be that girl. Protect yourself. It is better to be rude and safe than the opposite. The other thing I would talk about the fact is that unfortunately, many times you will see that men and women minimize the experience and certainly minimize the dangers of that experience and minimize the dynamics of this experience. Now, I only did domestic violence and sexual assault litigation for several years, and that was the law firm that I used to own. And so I really spent a lot of time understanding and analyzing the dynamics of boundary violations. And so that's why, to me, it's so obvious, but also it's so important to talk about it. I'm going to give you an example. If an individual violates a boundary with you, the reality is that once you have set them straight, you can never actually share a space with that person ever again. You want to know why? Because if they assault you, if they escalate you, if they do it, if they escalate it or do it again, it'll be your fault. Because if it was that bad, would you have gone back? Oh, you trusted they would behave. You're a silly, silly woman, and you will get blamed. And so the reality is that once there is a violation, once there is sexual harassment, you have to set iron boundaries and be absolutely clear about why you are setting those boundaries and then move on. One final thing that I heard, which was really annoying, and I'm just going to say it so that if you've heard it and you felt bad, then now you hear someone else supporting you. There was once a woman who was very concerned because on a liveaboard she was being made to share a cabin with a man, and she had not been asked if she had a choice in the matter. And when she raised the concern within an online group, she was basically chided by a lot of women telling her, "Well, in my experience, divers are really nice. And in my experience, divers are such a great community and we all love each other. And you're just being paranoid and sexist." Okay. She's not being paranoid. She's not being sexist. And even if she was, it is her sleeping space. And of all the spaces on the planet, I think the place where you slumber into unconsciousness should be the one you get to control. So, whatever boundaries you have for that space are legitimate and fair. And no, divers are not an exception to the worldwide community. Okay? Just like there are boundary violators and sexual harassers and sexual assaulters all over the world, they also happen to go and get certified and go and travel on liveaboards. Okay? Nothing makes our community exempt. So if you've ever heard someone say that to you, I'm sorry. We are very much fed a lot of nonsense around this topic. And if you have ever had your boundaries violated, if you've ever been assaulted, if you've ever been harassed, genuinely, I am sorry that happened to you. It was not your fault, and you are entitled to your boundaries. Thank you for watching The Careful Diver, and dive safe.